Okay, we start with our invocation. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammam sangam namassami. Good morning, everybody. Today is our last lesson. In our last three lessons, we started speaking about our existential situation, our existential condition, what we call dukkha. So the constant stress, disappointment, etc., that belongs to our existential condition. And we analyzed the origin, the reason why we feel this dukkha, which is craving, our defilements. So dukkha is basically a mental phenomenon that is due to our defilement, craving, conceit, and views. So is there an exit, a solution for this predicament? And there is, and the Third Noble Truth gives us the solution. The experience of nirvana. Nirvana is the solution of our existential predicament. So we said in the first lesson that the Third Noble Truth is the effect of the path, which is the Fourth Noble Truth. But we stressed the fact that it's not nirvana itself that is the effect of something, because nirvana is the unconditioned element. So by definition, is an effect of no cause. But what is the effect? What the Third Noble Truth is talking about is the possibility, the ability of the mind to realize and to experience the unconditioned element. And this is the conditioned path, the Noble Eightfold Path. The Third Noble Truth, the experience of nirvana. Now we read the text of the Noble Truth. So this is from the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta that we read at the beginning and on the first lesson. Now this bhikkhus is the noble truth of a cessation of suffering. It is the remainderless fading away and cessation of that same craving, the giving up and relinquishing of it, freedom from it, non-reliance on it. So this noble truth already gives us a hint of what nirvana, what the experience of nirvana is the cessation of craving. So tanhakayo, the cessation of craving, is itself a synonym of nirvana. The cessation of craving is nirvana. So the cessation of craving, and of course of all what comes together with it, craving, conceit, and views, the eradication, total eradication of ignorance. So the non-apprehending of an identity. From Jnanatiloka, the Buddhist dictionary, we take the etymology of the term nirvana. Nir is a negation, and so it means extinction, to cease blowing, to become extinguished. Actually, nirvana, nibbana, has something to do with the simile of the fire. When a fire gets extinguished, in ancient Buddhism, in ancient Indian lore, when the fire got extinguished, the simile was that of the fire that gets liberated from its fuel. And a fuel is upadana. I don't know if you know that upadana has a double meaning. An active meaning is that of grasping, attaching to. But there is also a passive meaning, and that is that of fuel. So it's a fuel of a fire. So in Indian thought, the fire was attaching to his fuel, to his upadana. And in the moment in which the upadana gets exhausted and the fire gets free to go back to this sphere. So this simile of the fire enters in the metaphor of nirvana. So nirvana is just this extinguishing of a fire, extinguishing of craving. And here Gnati Locatera says, according to the commentaries, is freedom from desire. So all our defilements. Nibbana constitutes the highest and ultimate goal of all Buddhist aspirations. It has the absolute extinction of that life-affirming will manifest as greed, hate, and delusion, and convulsively clinging to existence, and therewith also the ultimate and absolute deliverance from all future rebirth, old age, disease, and death, from all suffering and misery. Here it says extinction, absolute extinction of life-affirming will. Now, do not misunderstand. Gnanati Locatera was German, so when he used English, he used English with a little bit convoluted way. What it means here, it was thesis, is that cetana that is tainted, constantly tainted by our defilements, what we call sancetana, the kind of will that is tainted. But this doesn't mean that an arat, an enlightened one, or a bodhisattva has no will. It has a will that is completely pure, because cetana as a sankhara is part of the 5 skandhas, the 5 aggregates. So when one gets liberation, all craving is exhausted, but the 5 skandhas as phenomena, they still operate. So the will, cetana, is still there. But it's a will that is completely purified. It doesn't create karma and is completely in accordance with the Dharma. So we take Bhikkhu Bodhi's introduction to the Majjhima Nikaya to understand, to try to understand better. Of course, nirvana is elusive because it cannot be fit. It doesn't fit into our conceptual world. So, but to understand this better as we can take the definition of Bhikkhu Bodhi here in the introduction of Majjhima Nikaya. The state that supervenes when ignorance and craving have been uprooted is called a nibbana, or in Sanskrit, nirvana. And no conception in the Buddha's teaching has proved so refractory to conceptual pinning down as this one. In a way, such elusiveness is only to be expected, since nibbana is described precisely as profound, hard to see and hard to understand, unattainable by mere reasoning. This is the Aryapariyesana Sutta. Yet in this same passage, the Buddha also says that Nibbana is to be experienced by the wise, and in the suttas he gives enough indication of its nature to convey some idea of its desirability. So it's an experience. Nirvana is a possible experience. The Pali Canon offers sufficient evidence to dispense with the opinion of some interpreters that Nibbana is sheer annihilation. There's still someone who says that Buddhism preaches annihilation, that Nibbana is nothing, has nothing to do with annihilation. Annihilation is one of the extremes, right? Even the more sophisticated view that Nibbana is merely the destruction of defilements and the extinction of existence cannot stand up under scrutiny. Probably the most compelling testimony against that view is the well-known passage from the Udana that declares with reference to Nibbana that there is an unborn, unbecome, unmade, unconditioned, the existence of which makes possible escape from the born, become, made, and conditioned. We will quote some passages from the suttas about the definition of Nibbana. This is one of them because it's very, very famous. Of course, you should not misunderstand this passage as saying that there is a place where we go when we reach nirvana, because this is not the case. Because the nirvana and samsara are simply 2 aspects of the same world. It's simply that the point of view is completely different. So this is not saying that there is a place or a state or a something to grasp or realize as nirvana. The Majjhima Nikaya characterizes nibbana in similar ways. It is the unborn, unaging, unailing, deathless, sorrowless, undefiled supreme security from bondage, which the Buddha attained to on the night of his enlightenment. Again, the Arya Pariyesana Sutta. Its preeminent reality is affirmed by the Buddha when he calls nibbana the supreme foundation of truth, whose nature is undeceptive and which ranks as the supreme noble truth. Nibbana cannot be perceived by those who live in lust and hate, but it can be seen with the arising of spiritual vision. And by fixing the mind upon it in the depths of meditation, the disciple can attain the destruction of the taints, the asavas. The taints are the asavas. The taints are basically three taints: the ignorance, attachment to sensual pleasures, and attachment to existence. They are the Bhikkhu Bodhi calls them the hub of samsara. They cannot be eradicated unless one reaches the final and supreme stage of enlightenment. Sotapanna, for example, one who realizes the first root, cannot destroy the taints. Only one who has tread all the path till complete consummation can eliminate the taints. The elimination, the eradication of the asavas is one of the features that characterizes the realization of arahatship. The Buddha does not devote many words to a philosophical definition of Nibbana. One reason is that Nibbana, being unconditioned, transcendent, and supramundane, does not easily lend itself to definition in terms of concepts that are inescapably tied to the conditioned, manifest, and mundane. Another is that the Buddha's objective is the practical one of leading beings to release from suffering. And thus his principal approach to the characterization of Nibbana is to inspire the incentive to attain it and to show what must be done to accomplish it. Concerning this first point, it's clear that our language operates in a world of concepts. And however you think about Nibbana in terms of our normal working mind is always not what it is, because concepts always fall short of any definition of Nibbana. On the other side, we need to use language to convey at least a hint of its meaning and to speak about the path to get there. To show Nibbana as desirable, as the aim of striving, he describes it as the highest bliss, as the supreme state of sublime peace, as the ageless, deathless, and sorrowless, as the supreme security from bondage. To show what must be done to attain Nibbana, to indicate that the goal implies a definite task, he describes it as the stilling of all formation, the relinquishing of all acquisition, the destruction of craving, dispassion. This we will put again this, and I will explain a little bit. This is a stock classical definition of Nibbana. Above all, Nibbana is the cessation of suffering. For those who seek an end to suffering, such a designation is enough to become them towards the path. So now we just quote some words, some passages from the suttas, because this is the best way to have an idea of what the experience of Nibbana is. So first, this sutta is ascetic of another doctrine that comes to Sariputta and asks a question. Friend Sariputta, it is say Nibbana, Nibbana. What now is Nibbana? The destruction of lust, the destruction of hatred, the destruction of delusion. this friend is called Nibbana. Lust, hatred, and delusion are what? They are the so-called three unwholesome roots, the ones that keep us constantly bound to samsara. And then we go to the udanas. This is one of them. Any sensual bliss in the world, any heavenly bliss, isn't worth 1/16 of the bliss of the ending of craving. So again, nirvana is compared to the ending of craving, and is the supreme bliss, supreme happiness, paramata sukha. And we have this very beautiful, which is very Zen-like, this: what use is there for a well if there is water everywhere? When craving's root is severed, what should one go about seeking? So actually, nirvana is not separate from samsara. It's just that we cannot see. We cannot see because we are bound by our way of constructing the world and interpreting the uh, experience, the experience of sensual data. But nirvana is in the moment in which craving is eradicated. It's not that we go somewhere else. It's simply that there is a total revolution, and the mind finally understands what was already there. And then we come to this passage quoted by Bhikkhu Bodhi before. There is, monks, an unborn, unbecome, unmade, unfabricated. If there were not that unborn, unbecome, unmade, unfabricated, there would not be the case that escape from the born, become, made, fabricated would be discerned. But precisely because there is an unborn, unbecome, unmade, unfabricated, escape from the born, become, made, fabricated is discerned. And then we have this definition, this very beautiful definition. You may memorize it if you want. This is from the Arya Pariyesana Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 26, but you can find it very often in the suttas. It's also one of the exercise, the contemplative exercise suggested by the Girimananda Sutta. I don't know if you know this sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 16. This is peaceful, this is sublime, that is the stilling of all activities, the relinquishment of all acquisition, the destruction of craving, dispassion, cessation, nibbana. So these are all synonyms of nibbana. So etan santam etam panitam yadidam sabba sankara samato, the stilling of all acquisition, sankara. What does it mean? That when nibbana is reached, all conditioning that kept us turning again and again in the in the wheel of samsara because of ignorance are completely stilled. They are still because ignorance is eradicated. Sankara can operate only because there is ignorance. That is because there is a attachment, a notion of a self. But when this notion of a self, when this ignorance is wiped away without trace, samskara cannot operate. So all conditioning is stops there, stills completely there. Sabupadipattinista, the relinquishment of all acquisitions. So upadi usually is defined as the five aggregates of clinging. What acquisition of assets, what the term acquisition means, that is what defines, what makes up our identity, our personality. But we can extend the meaning of the term to encompass everything that defines our identity. For example, our opinion, our ideas, the things that we do, the things that we think we are. This is our all acquisition. At that point, since there is no more a notion of an identity and no more the need to give it something, some definition, these acquisitions are all abandoned. There is no more identity there. The destruction of craving, tanhakayo, as we already spoke about it. Dispassion, viraga. Viraga has a double aspect of the fading away of our passion, so the fading away of defilements, and also the fading away of the solidity of phenomena that they are seen in their true nature. Cessation, nirodha, is a cessation of all that binds us to samsara, that is our our defilements again. Nibbana, these are all synonyms of nirvana. The remainders, so this is another udana, the 310. The remainderless fading cessation, nibbana, comes with the utter ending of all craving. When a bhikkhu reaches nibbana, thus through not clinging, there is no renewal of being. You remember that tanha is defined as bonobhavika, the one who brings about renewal of being. So life after life. And when craving is eradicated, this punabhavika is not there anymore. There is no coming again to any state of being. Mara has been vanquished and the battle gained. Since one who is such as outstripped all beings is the superior of all beings. As a stone mountain, one solid mass is not stirred by the wind, so no forms and tastes, sounds, odors, and tactile objects, and phenomena desirable or undesirable stir the stable one's mind. His mind is steady and freed, and he observes is vanishing. What vanishes is the mind, the conditioned mind, is no more there, it doesn't operate. And there are many synonyms of nirvana in the suttas. I quote from this text, The Island, that you can download for free from the internet, from Ajahn Amaro Jampasana. I quoted only some of them. There are quite a long list in the text. So it's spoken about the end, anatta, the taintless, anasava. You remember the reaching arhat means that all asavas are eradicated. So the anasava is the nirvana, the without asava, the truth, satcha. The other shore, para. This is quite interesting. The undiversified, nippapancha. The authors translated an undiversified, but do you remember when we spoke about prapancha, mental proliferation? The opposite of prapancha is nirprapancha, non-prapancha, a state that in which there is no mental proliferation, no projection of an ego into every act of consciousness. And this is the realized one is called the one who has realized nippapancha, the state of absence of any identification. So craving, conceit, and views are no more there to build up a world. And then safety, kema, extinction of craving, we already stated as tanakkayo. Non-affliction, non-hostility, abhyapajja, fading of lust, viraga. We say that one of the meaning of viraga is the fading away of our defilements. Purity, sutti, is the supreme purity. Independence of reliance, analayo. Alayo is something on which something else relies. For example, for the birds during the night, the resting place of birds during the night can be called alaya. And I don't know if you know that Himalaya is from this word. Hima means snow. Alaya means resting place. So in Himalaya means the resting place of snow, is where the snow relies on. And the island Deepa, that by the way gives the title to this book, the shelter, the refuge, sarana. When we recite the three refuges, saranam, sarana, the refuge, the parayana, the beyond, and so on. So, and this is is about nirvana. So of course we cannot say what nirvana is, because it's an experience without an object and without an experiencer. So it's impossible for our mind to conceive of it. Every kind of concept that we can give rise of it is wrong by definition. So, but the Buddha gives us continuous hints on its nature. And to realize this fruit, of course, we have a cause. We say that this is the result of a cause. So the cause of this, the possibility of this experience, the cause for this experience is the fourth noble truth, is the Noble Eightfold Path. Is the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, we do not have enough time, so I will give only an overview of the Noble Eightfold Path. In the future, if you think fit to have other lessons, we can expand more on the Noble Eightfold Path. Actually, the Noble Eightfold Path encompasses everything you can think about in Buddhist practice. So everything fits into the Noble Eightfold Path. Is a wonderful tool that the Buddha devised to give us an overview, a complete overview, and where everything fits into. So there are these 8 factors: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Now, one thing to stress about the Noble Eightfold Path is how we think of it. So it's true that for convenience, we need to separate all the 8 factors and to put it in a list. But do not think that this is a temporal list, that there is a temporal process in developing the Noble Eightfold Path. Because actually, all these factors are always interrelated. You should conceive of the Noble Eightfold Path as something that is a system of synchronic factors that feedback continuously one on the other. So right view is at the beginning, but it supports in reality all the process. And right effort also is always there. So they nurture each other, and you can imagine the development on the Noble Eightfold Path like a spiral going up. So at the beginning is the base is very very large. So we need to understand every factor separately and to try to develop every factor separately. But when we start the practice, when the practice starts to become a little bit smooth, you can see that every factor nurtures the other ones. So we start with the right view that is only mundane, but slowly, if our concentration develops, if our mindfulness develops, this right view goes deeper and deeper into the real Dharma, and so they nurture each other, and in the end, they work together in a synchronic way till they reach a point of consummation. And when they reach that point, the mind is ready to penetrate the unconditioned element. So it's a system in itself in which all the factors grow together. And there is a very beautiful sutta that today we have no time to analyze, the Mahachatarisaka Sutta, that delineates some of the dynamics internal to the Noble Eightfold Path. So we start with right view. A right view has 2 aspects: a mundane right view and a supramundane right view. The mundane right view has to do with the understanding of what is wholesome and unwholesome, with this understanding and accepting the law of karma, so the fact that actions have results, and recognizing that it is possible to realize the way. We cannot read all the passages here, so I quoted this I'm the owner of my karma. One should reflect. This is a kind of reflection that the Buddha suggests us to do, that we are the owner of our karma. And everything, we are also the heir of our karma. So what we do of good or bad will reap results. And here we have the Saleyaka Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 41, that says there is what is given, what is offered, what sacrificed. What does it mean? It simply means that actions have results. So if I am generous, if I do what is proper, this will bring good results. There is fruit and result of good and bad actions. There is this world and the other world. So um, we should establish the right view that there are successive existences. There is mother and father. It doesn't mean that one comes out saying, "Oh, there is the mother and father." There is mother and father means there are duties, filial duties towards mother and father, and these also are part of karma. There are beings who are reborn spontaneously and so on. And then recognizing that this path can be walked. And if you are good enough, you are serious enough, you can realize something because there is someone who has realized it. And karma basically is volition, chaitana, but not all volitions are karma. The volition of a Nara, the purified volition, doesn't create any karma. It's just functional. It just functions without leaving any trace behind. Chaitana that is karma is Sanchetana, Chaitana that is tainted by our defilements. And this is the stock definition that you find in the suttas. So volition regarding to all the 5, 6 senses. And Bhikkhu Bodhi, there is this beautiful book that, by the way, is also in PDF format. You can download from the web. Maybe it's also translated in Finnish. It's a very, very famous work of Bhikkhu Bodhi. So is it possible that there is a Finnish translation? I don't know. Maybe you can ask Teisu Nim if he knows. So the identification of karma with volition makes karma essentially a mental event. So this is one of the special features of Buddhism that, in a way that was different from the ascetics of his time, pointed to the mind as the origin of our karma. And there are 3 kinds of karma: of body, speech, and mind. And of course, right view requires a certain more than just understanding karma. It says one has to understand the ethical distinction between wholesome and unwholesome. What are the principal cases of each type? And the roots. You know that there are 3 wholesome roots and 3 unwholesome roots. The 3 wholesome roots are craving, aversion, and ignorance, and the 3 wholesome roots are their opposite. And these are the roots from which our action stem. And besides, this is the mundane right view. And then what we should slowly develop is the supramundane right view. And the supramundane right view has to do with the understanding of the 4 Noble Truths. This is why I say the 4 Noble Truths are not for beginners. This is already a deep level of understanding. So what, friends, is right view? The Majjhima Nikaya 141 is the Satchavibhanga Sutta, is pronounced by Sariputta. So knowledge of suffering, knowledge of the origin of suffering, knowledge of the cessation of suffering, and knowledge of the way leading to the cessation of suffering. This is called right view. And of course, there are two steps. One step that we can call intellectual, although it's not is not completely correct word, but I don't know how to express. Is the right view in accordance with the truth, but is still not realization. Is not the direct penetration, but is still may still be a very deep understanding, because just before the penetration, the realization of the first fruit, one is in the condition to understand the Four Noble Truths quite deeply. So, but this is still a right view that is not derived from direct vision, direct perception, is in inferential understanding. This is an inferential understanding. The real understanding comes with the penetration, with the direct perception of the noble truths, and this is the realization of the first fruit. This is for the for right view, and of course we when we have right view in a very obvious way, we develop also right intention. So what is right intention? Intention of renunciation, of non-ill will, and intention of non-cruelty. This is called right intention. So these three are right intention. And what these three intentions, of course, are opposite to what we call the wrong intentions. So why they are called wrong and right? Simply because they ripe in a wholesome or unwholesome karma or unwholesome result. They give unwholesome or wholesome results. This is why they are called wholesome or unwholesome. The Dvaita Vitakka Sutta, we have no time to read it, but it's the Buddha himself who gives a strategy to separate wholesome from unwholesome thoughts. And so to develop the wholesome and to abandon the unwholesome is actually a strategy that he himself used before becoming a Buddha. This sutta is very interesting. And so what is the meaning of Sankappa? You write intention is Samma Sankappa, Samyak Sankalpa, and it's basically a synonym of Vitakka, or Vitarka. That means thought in the sense of intention, purpose. Okay, Bhikkhu Bodhi, of course, gives quite a long definition. So the first of this right intention is renunciation, nekkhamma. So understanding the Four Noble Truths is in relation to ourselves, gives us the purpose, the motivation to develop renunciation, because we understand, if we really understand the Four Noble Truths, we understand that is craving that let us experience dukkha. So if we abandon craving, there is no dukkha anymore. So renunciation arises from this kind of motivation. And the other two right intentions are benevolence and compassion, that are defined in a negative way. Absence of malice is absence of cruelty. What we call metta and karuna, basically, benevolence and compassion. And Bhikkhu Bodhi, again, in the same book, makes a very interesting distinction because he says that if we understand, when we understand the Four Noble Truths in regard to ourselves, we develop renunciation. And when we understand them in regard to others, we develop the desire and the wish for others to also be free of suffering and to also be happy. So we develop benevolence and compassion. So this is there since the beginning of Buddhism. So don't think that arahants are not compassionate, because it cannot. It's simply a contradiction to have a not compassionate arahant. So we express this wish for others to be happy and to be free from suffering, and this is right intention. And then we have these three factors: right speech, right action, and right livelihood. And this is have to do with ethical the ethical part of our Buddhist life. And of course, you can understand how this fits into all the picture. And if there is no right view, there will be no right speech, no right action, and no right livelihood. So this again is Bhikkhu Bodhi, is the same book by Bhikkhu Bodhi that makes the point that through the principle laid down in this section, restrain immoral actions and promote good conduct, their ultimate purpose is not so much ethical as spiritual. They are not prescribed merely as guides to action, but primarily as aids to mental purification. Right speech right action, right livelihood, if entail the fact that we live an ethical life, and so this purifies the mind. Also because it simplifies the mind, because it simplifies our needs and our desires. And so the Pali word we have been translating as moral discipline is sila, and sila may have very different nuances of meaning. And here, Bhikkhu Bodhi gives some indications. I read from here. Sila, in the sense of precepts of principles, represent the formalistic side of the ethical training. Sila as virtue, the animating spirit, and Sila as right conduct, the expression of virtue in real life situation. Of course, when we start to practice the precepts and to put them into practice, at the beginning, everything seems very contrived. But when the more, and this is why right view embeds into all this process. When our understanding of the Dharma ripens, this sila, this wholesome action becomes a second nature. With time becomes a second nature. And this is sila as the expression of virtue that shines on the outside. And for other peoples to see. And this is the perfection of seeing. So, and sila, of course, if some people cultivate these observances, it will be of benefit from himself and others. So, and usually we have these 10 virtuous actions. So, body, speech, and mind. Body is abstaining from killing every sentient being that you can see. So even a little mosquito. From stealing, stealing has a very broad meaning that encompasses not only simply taking something from someone, but also depriving something from its what he needs to live. And sexual abstaining from sexual misconduct, the Vinaya and the suttas have a list of what is called improper objects. And what are improper objects are those who are married to someone else, the spouses of someone else, those who are betrothed to someone else, those who are under guardianship, for example, or because they are minors or because there are some problems. And if you see the suttas and the Vinayas, you can extrapolate that whenever our sexual desire brings suffering to others, this is wrong. This is sexual misconduct. And speech, lying, harsh speech, and divisive talk and empty chat. Lying is just saying something that is not what we think. It may be wrong, but if we think that is right and we say otherwise, this is a lie. Our speech is whatever is considered insulting or also harsh to other people. It may be very nice speech, but if it's aimed at belittling other people, this is also under this point, our speech. Divisive talk is everything that tries to create separation between two sides. Someone, they're friends, and I want to separate. I start to say something to one and they'll go to the other, say something to the other, up to the point when they start quarreling and their good relationship breaks. And empty chat is unfortunately what we do every day for the majority of the time, because for the Buddhist point of view, everything that is not Dharma is just empty chat. So even in a monastic setting, don't think that we don't have empty chats, because actually it's very difficult. And of course, everything is based on the mind. So we have to change our way of our attitude. So abstaining from craving, aversion, and wrong views. And then we come to right livelihood. Right livelihood, there are some lists. This is from the monastic point of view, and this is from the Mahachattarisaka Sutta, and these have to do with our Pratimoksha rules. But for the lay people, there is this sutta, the Anguttara 5:177. He says, bhikkhus, a lay follower should not engage in these 5 trades. What 5? Trading in weapons, trading in living beings, trading in meat, trading in intoxicants, and trading in poisons. A lay followers should not engage in these 5 trades. So every trade that entails harm to other sentient beings. Of course, there is the problem of someone, for example, that is a butcher and late in life becomes a Buddhist. Of course, changing work is not that easy. So one should simply don't create too much anxiety if one has an occupation that is not in tune with the Dharma, and do his best to live according to the Dharma. A right effort. Right effort is what underlies all this process, actually. And this scheme is the classical definition of the 4 right efforts. So they refer to wholesome and unwholesome states. And so for unwholesome states, we have 2 tasks. If they are not yet arisen, we prevent their arising. And if they are already arisen, we try to abandon them. And this enters also the Satipatthana and all the strategies that we have, all the antidote that we can apply for doing this. For wholesome state, is just the opposite. For the not yet arisen, we foster their arising. We try to arise them. And already arisen, we develop them. So this is the so-called right effort. And right effort is always there. It underlies every kind of practice we do in the Dharma. And what are wholesome and unwholesome states? Basically, unwholesome states are the 5 hindrances: lack of mindfulness, inappropriate attention, doubt, laziness. And wholesome states are the 7 factors of enlightenment: right mindfulness, appropriate intention, and lack of doubt, etc. So the 5 hindrances and the 7 factors of enlightenment are 2 opposite sets of factors. Our practice aims at curbing the 5 hindrances and developing the 7 factors of enlightenment. The 7 factors of enlightenment are antidotes to the 5 hindrances. So we try to curb the 5 hindrances and develop the 7 factors of enlightenment. And how do we do it? By cultivating right mindfulness. And everywhere, not only here, but in all the sets in which right mindfulness appears, is defined in terms of the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So we go back to Satipatthana. So you can see that if we want to speak about the Eightfold Path in a very deep and detailed way, we go on all the aspects of the Dharma. So the 4 foundations of mindfulness are body, feeling, mind, phenomena. But of course, what is important is the part mindfulness, not the foundation. The Satipatthana Sutta and other suttas that delineate this kind of practice, of course, point to what is our direct experience, as I have already said. So our experience is body, feeling, and mind. And so we try to develop mindfulness by focusing on what is our experience of body, feeling, and mind. This doesn't mean that we cannot develop mindfulness with other foundations, with other objects. And there are examples, but this is the most um, uh, the most articulate way that in which the Buddha taught how to develop mindfulness. And developing mindfulness is actually extremely important, is a pivotal, sati is a pivotal feature, a pivotal quality of the mind. And the last factor is the four jhanas. Now, right concentration is defined in the suttas as the four jhanas. So the first jhana, and now the four jhanas are common not only to Buddhists but also other religious practitioners can realize the four jhanas. What is the difference? Is this right? And the Mahachakkarisaka Sutta makes clear that concentration is right when it's accompanied by all the other factors. So when all the other factors come synchronically to support concentration, that is called right concentration. If the other factors are absent, this is not right concentration, it's simply concentration. And so you have the first jhana, which all the factors applied and sustained thought, rapture and pleasure born of seclusion from the five hindrances. Seclusion from the five hindrances. You enter into the first jhana when the five hindrances are completely curbed. And when applied and sustained thought are seen as coarse and are abandoned, you enter into the second jhana. So there absence of applied and sustained thought, and rapture and pleasure born of concentration. The term concentration is used from the second jhana on, because the absence of the wobbling of vitaka vichara. When rapture ceases, you enter into the third jhana. That as sukha, only sukha, is the total bliss, and has a pleasant abiding with who has equanimity as is mindful. And also when this sukha, even this sukha is seen as coarse, when even sukha is abandoned, you enter into the utter stability of the four jhana. That is total equanimity, exactly because there is no pleasure and pain. The mind is not pulled here and there. The mind is completely stable. And four jhana together with the first two immaterial attainments is called anenja. It's called anenja. The unperturbable is unperturbable. So it's the best tool to go into insight. This doesn't mean that you cannot use the first jhana. You can. Actually, reaching the fourth jhana is pretty difficult. And this, of course, the you know that the Noble Eightfold Path is divided into three sections: wisdom, virtue, and concentration. And the next step would be to discuss the Mahachakkarisaka Sutta, and we have no time now. So this will conclude the lesson for today. And if you have any questions.
Thank you. So we talked about you having a feedback from this course, and you talked about jhanas in the end. So if you enter a jhana, you perceive it as an entering in the jhana. Isn't that delusion if there is an eye that perceives that entering?
jhanas are not ultimate. Jhanas are still bound to samsara. So of course there is an observer and an observed object. See, because so they are not ultimate. So one has to be careful and to understand. So there are some people that says that jhana are dangerous or whatever because of illusion, because one can get attached to them. And actually, there are in the suttas passages in which the Buddha explicitly says that one has to understand correctly, has to be careful not to attach to them. But if we understand correctly their role, their function, the function that jhana has, we do not fall into any problem. Jhanas are mundane realization. They are not supramundane realization. So, but what they give us are certain qualities. First of all, jhanas suppress the five hindrances. These are their most important function. They suppress the five hindrances. They do not eradicate, only suppress the five hindrances. And what does this mean? It means that when I emerge from the jhana, I have a mind that has no more filters in front of it, can directly perceive. So I can use the mind trained in jhana to do the insight. So I change when I come out from the jhana. When a practitioner comes out from the jhana, uses that qualities that have been cultivated by the jhana to observe impermanence without the veil of the five hindrances. And this is the real power of the jhanas. And then there is a sutta, the Apanama Sutta, is Majjhima Nikaya 111, in which the Buddha speaks about Sariputta, how Sariputta used the jhana, and how did he use the jhanas. When he entered the jhana, coming out from the jhana, he examined the factors of the jhana, and he examined that these factors are impermanent. So when you understand that even such a sublime experience is impermanent, it's very easy to give rise to insight, to very deep insight, because you see that even this bliss is impermanent, is subject to fate. So jhanas are not perfect. Jhanas are in the Buddhist system, they are a tool. They are not the end. So this is why they have to be intended into the Noble Eightfold Path in its totality, because you need right view to understand the function of jhana. That jhana doesn't destroy in itself. It doesn't destroy the defilements, but it can have. It can be a very powerful tool to destroy the defilements when I apply the same qualities that I cultivated in jhana into the insight practice. So we need to balance these two sides of the practice, the concentration and the insight. So with concentration, the mind calms down, is purified, is a process of purification. Jhana have this quality also of purifying the mind and giving it these qualities that are good for insight. When we come out from jhana, we can immediately start to observe phenomena in their nature, impermanent, etc., etc., etc. So jhanas are important. But of course, one has to be careful not to attach them, because there is still the object and an observer in the jhanas.
Thank you. This was very useful information.
Yeah. So this is what right concentration. Right concentration is based on all the other factors. It's not just concentration. It's not like the yogis that just go into concentration and take these experiences as ultimate. Do you think?
Thanks a lot.
Yep.
It has been very inspiring to listen your lectures.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
I'm very happy to listen, to hear it. We share all the merits we have just accumulated with all sentient beings so that they can realize the perfection of wisdom and be free from any suffering. Homage to the Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to the Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to the Buddha Shakyamuni. So thank you for your kindness and participation. And if you want to continue, it's up to you to organize the next lessons, and see you in later occasions. My best wishes to everybody, and let's make our effort to together to realize the way.